Hello and welcome to Connecting with the Stars with Mary Edwards. And I've got friend and special guest today, Robert Perala, here today. Wonderful to have you back.
Thanks, Mary.
Goody. Well, good to see you.
Good to be on. Good to see or imagine all the people that are listening or watching, somewhere internationally or domestically.
Well, they're all over.
Change the world.
We are all over the place, and it's such a crazy, wonderful time now to be talking to you about who is really a Renaissance man. You are an author, a songwriter, a public speaker. You have the Perala Report, which is on the air on conscious awareness and social change. You talk about social change, humanitarian relief, spirituality, personal development, climate change, everything. You go the whole gamut. Because you're smart and you like to see it through a lens that captures everything, and you do. So I
get bored.
Well, we all do. If we are multidimensional and multisensory like we are, we do get bored. We also want to pay attention to all the things that are going on, and there's so many things going on. We have to be pretty diligent in our awareness and our sort of really how our feelings are towards all these things, so we can keep grounded and also keep advancing. So today we're going to talk about Robert's wonderful book that he did with Tony Stubbs, and they have just announced and have out now for 2023 an all new updated spiral bound workbook version of The Divine Architect. And before I have you dive in and you're going to share with us, I'm just going to read a little bit from the back page that I think is really great, that shows.
Younger Robert Perala. Oh my God.
Well, every day we get a little bit wiser, a little bit older. And you say on the back page of your book, it happens every 5 minutes or so on planet Earth. A soul incarnates in a new body and begins a new human life. An experience that will last for a few seconds to maybe a century. Only the soul and its spiritual advisors know for sure what that life will accomplish, and even then, only the probable outcome. Join Robert and Tony Stubbs, renowned authors of the highly acclaimed The Divine Blueprint, as they explore the biggest story imaginable and answer the fundamental questions. Who are we? Why are we here? Where do we come from? Who were we before we were born? And where do we go when we pass? Most of us know now we never leave, but we'll go over in today and then in a couple more interviews what he gleaned from these incredible people that they got involved in this book. And Marge Ryder, PhD, writes on the back page, learn about life before birth, after-death communication, the ancient mystery schools, the truth about dreams, new science, and ancient wisdom, and much more. They bring you the timeless wisdom of such divine architects as George Anderson, Greg Braden, Deepak Chopra, John Edward, Tony Robbins, Shirley MacLaine, and His Holiness the Dalai Lama. The Divine Architect is one of the most important books of our time. They have done a superlative job of explaining in layman's terms exactly the continuum of life, what life is about. Pre-birth planning, the challenges and lessons of life, inevitable death, and eventual rebirth. Suddenly, the whole thing makes so much sense. The Divine Architect is truly a phenomenal contribution to the field of spirituality and personal growth. And before you talk, I'm writing something for a talk, and I was talking about just one sentence I want to say is about life and what you talk about here in the broad spectrum of what we're going to talk about here. Nothing in the universe is more complex than life. Life is open-ended, evolving, and unpredictable, yet adapting and self-sustaining. And it's going to, it'll be really interesting to hear you sort of go through your life and share your experiences in this beautiful book that you do so well in layman's terms. I read it the last couple of weeks, and it really is really beautiful. you have a really beautiful way of sharing all these different experiences that you've had and that they share. So I know last week we talked a little bit about your upbringing and your contact, and I don't know where you'd like to start off today, but we're going to be talking about the Divine Architect, the Art of Living, and Beyond. Beautiful, really beautiful.
It's really, you know, when we did the follow-up to Divine Blueprint, I was really thinking in terms of, for some reason, offering more of a greatest hits package. You know, Divine Blueprint did very, very well on its day, and it sort of introduced me, and I was very humbled that it, you know, that we were moving along with this new publishing and all that. And then we came to Divine Architect, and I thought, wow, you know, I'm the MC or host in many of these spiritual style science shows and everything. I thought, well, why not, you know, why not ask for other people to come in? I'm a musician, you know, and as a musician, sometimes you want the next project to be a little more inclusive, bigger sound, bigger production. Let's get these people involved, you know. And so I thought of the idea of being a host to the best subjects, or I think maybe 10 of the most interesting subjects, and then bringing in some of these, what I would call divine architects, like Greg Braden and like Deepak Chopra, and ask them their position on, because they're really the experts. And so we paraphrased their contribution. We wrote to them, does this look like a good project you'd like to be mentioned in? And all of them, I think, but one said, yes, we definitely want to be in this. So they wrote off, yes, this is great. This is a nice collection of things. And then I had my own story in there too. And I was always fascinated by, okay, well, what's this all about? Is there some sort of divine, you know, plan by the incoming karmic bound souls that come in to fulfill their missions? Where were they before? You know, because the conservative sections of religion always tell us that, a lot of them say, well, this is, you know, life gets started at the origin of conception, and then it gets really started at birth, and then you move on and you have your life however long, and then we depart, and that's it. That is all. You know, and actually there's much there. I think it's very limiting in a lot of ways. We were looking at, there's a wonderful book by Betty Eadie, who died in her book called Saved by the Light, who said she was fascinated by the fact that when she had come out of her body and went to the other side, and then she lived to tell about it, obviously, right? She wrote the book. You know, she said, I found that my life stretched backwards and forwards and in ways I'd never dreamed possible. I found that it was limitless and it was eternal, just like they said, but eternity didn't necessarily start at the point of conception. It was eternal. There was all this previous experience, and that previous experience determined a time zone, a place that the soul will incarnate to, a certain family, geographical location, a certain exact time to come through from spirit to material as an adjunct to our studies. And now we continue, but while we continue on this side, we're not really aware. It's almost like they start the game over, you know. You have to sort of if everything was taken away in your life before, you know, and when you were born here, and everything was sort of removed, and you didn't know you had a previous experience, you'd be starting just from this experience, and you'd think, well, okay, now I have to start over. No, you wouldn't even know you were starting over. In fact, this would be all there is. You're so socio-conditioned to it. And then you would also be so socio-conditioned, and you might have to learn all over that there's even a support team or anybody even walking with you, that's even a part of it. And many people don't go through their whole lifetime and don't even know that there's a team sort of going along with them, that there's witnesses supporting them, and that in fact even their own thoughts aren't even completely their own. They're actually sharing a space with these other beings, entities, lost loved ones, discarnates, some angelics, maybe some kind of extraterrestrial contact, or mom or dad, whatever. And so because they don't know that all that's there, they act out like
You sure
kids.
do.
They're
Right.
gonna act out, say, well, I don't have to play by the rules. And I don't have to worry about a retro, some, what do you call, a reckoning for this experience. So this is why you see souls sort of starting over here. And when they start over, they really think that they act on instinct. That's as far as they've gotten. That's why I say, you are who you are because you're the result of everything you've been, and you're acting upon just what you know up to this point. And then when it's all done, then comes the point you step over, and that can happen in a myriad of different ways. So you might have some that will cross over, yes, greeted by lost loved ones that day that they've wanted to see them so much, and so many years have gone by since they've departed. And now that day has come where you see them again, and the joy and the majesty, the sheer incredibleness of it is not really comprehensible. There's other scenarios where you're met by even Christ. And you find that Christ is sort of not only what we would term as a man, but a thing. Think of it like it's the divine intelligence that's surrounding everything. It's in the fabric of the reality, and it has the ability to manifest in front of you. And you see, because you can comprehend it at that point, but also you see, oh, I see, it's in everything. It's kind of more of a divine intelligence, etc. Or you might even meet your dog. Your pet comes up to you to be the first one to greet you. And inevitably, while you're thrilled and relieved that your life is over, some will cross over and go, uh-oh, and their life hasn't been that good at all. And they've been responsible for the departure of other souls. They want to put on the brakes, and they see what they gave that was out of divine alignment, and that's very shocking. And one more scenario before we get to another question or whatever is the scenario where I always wanted to write a chapter in the book that was going to be called "Death is a Great Way for an Argument to Break Out," because some souls cross over and don't know anything's happened.
Right.
So an argument literally can break out because they can say, well, everything is just relative. I'm here, aren't I? I'm talking to you, right? There's trees. I don't remember dying or losing my body. There must be a mistake. And so that scenario can happen too. There's been a mistake. Hang on a second. There's been a mistake. You see, I can't possibly had finished my lifetime because I'm still here, until they begin to notice the incredible lightness of being. The aches and pains that they had in their physical body isn't anymore because they're not physical, and so on and so forth. And then things have to be explained. And then there's scenarios where they will be taken to a life review. That life review will see not only what your entire life was about, but also what everybody felt that ever met you. And so you actually lived through a string of their experiences as to how they responded to you. And then we see, do we want to, are we going to stay on the other side and exist for a while in what they call the rest? We go to a rest. Actually, they meant that, or do they, or do they cycle right back in? And some actually aren't over there long at all. Some may cycle right back in, and there's an opportunity to be born into the set of circumstances that which they created. So this is why we have this, like, how is it that some people are born into wealth, comfort, and health in North America or England, and others are born in Rwanda or an AIDS-ridden village in the Zimbabwe? What is the reckoning here that they should be on the run, and the hunters are now the hunted, or the others are given more of a balanced life, just a chance to learn and have a nice family and grow and have hardships, but also a lot of successes and wealth, comfort. So short scenario of kind of what happened.
Right. Well, and plus, I think some of us, like you and me, who had early childhood ET contact and our experiences, we were lucky enough to get a jump start on it. And I think, to me anyway, looking back now, because I mean, I went off planet the first time I thought it was 5, and then I know it was 3, and then I've been going off planet forever. And I'm just learning over the last many years. I mean, I saw my grandmother when she passed 40 years ago. I saw her pass, would take her last breath, to see her as an angel. I saw her maid after she passed. I mean, I always knew that there was more. I mean, I remember from early on that it was really complicated, but I remember being like a baby and going, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here now, but I know that I'm in the right place, but this home doesn't really feel like my home. So I think that's, if we're curious, we've had these experiences, we are interested in learning more about it, then I started at 18 wanting to find out about my past lives and reincarnation and my first religion school. And I used to go to Baha'i temple. I'd ride my bike down at 6 years old to see what's going on in this beautiful temple that nobody goes to. So I think if we're curious, now I would be sitting there by myself going, I just left a Holy Comforter Episcopalian church, and I'd get on my bike and my parents would say, why are you going down there again? I said, it's just so calm, it's so happy, and it's not social. Because I always felt like I was put into these big social situations. But anyway, I think the beauty
to find out.
Yeah, and I think the beauty of today is there's so much opportunity, particularly after we go through many wake-up calls that we have over the decades and recently, and with COVID, where we were forced inside to really go inside, whether we wanted to or not. From children to seniors, we watched a lot of death. We saw a lot of sickness, and we were forced to really go inside and look. It was a huge wake-up call, and we can see the effects now with just even this year with post-COVID insanity, where people not only are migrating from our country to other places, but there's such a spin-off. People are so ungrounded now with this fast acceleration of consciousness that's going on. For those of us who want to or curious about how can we play our part. And I've been guided, I know I have, and you have, we've talked about it a bit, since I was a child. I've done everything I was supposed to do, everything I was guided to do, everything I wanted to do in my heart to help teach and be sensitive to people's spaces, and to do thousands of interiors all over the world, and to teach kids and to teach seniors. And I mean, I understand now why I did everything. And I know I've always had this great voice in my ear from my galactic family, helping guide me through all the tough times and up until recently. And I've been talking a lot to my parents since they passed over the last many years. I've learned so much information about, and from four of my best friends have died over the last 5 years, and I have been talking to them. And just, it's fascinating. If we are curious, we will always find a way, if we don't know how to do it ourselves, to go inside in our hearts, in our souls, to learn more, to understand what that was. I've had a couple of near-death experiences. Many of us didn't pay attention. I didn't start paying attention to a lot of these things as much until the last few years. But it's been a lifelong curiosity of mine anyway, to find out more about my family from England, all that, to know and to find the balance. And understand. I mean, and now I really don't have any more. I mean, I have regrets, of course, but now I understand why I was so out of it for so long, in ways where I didn't want to go to the dark parts. I didn't want to look at really the deep fears that I had, my family history with, different governmental military things and programs that I was in. But I'm strong for it. And
who are these people?
Yeah, God, get out of here. Get away from me.
Yeah,
I've had enough electroshock. No, thank you.
You ever feel like that you wake up and you go, you first realize, who your parents really are. And then you realize the family has a lot of secrets, and you're old enough to find out those secrets. And then you go, who are these people? They're not, later on in life, they're not at all who we thought they were, because now life has a way of exposing all the misinformation and disinformation about what we've come to believe about everything.
Right. If we want to, that's the thing, the curiosity and keeping that open mind, so we can not pass on some of the same anyway, problems and issues from our ancestry and our DNA. We can shift our DNA. We know now we can change pretty much anything in our thoughts or ideas all day long. We can get, you get a negative thought and you go, oh, I don't want to go there. Like, let's just, so we rise, we change, we shift as much as we can, but we have to understand the good and evil, which was always, because I'm so sensitive, and I'm sure you are too, we all are. What learning about good and evil was, and they've been teaching me a lot about that the last many years and really throughout my whole life. So I'm glad I chose and agreed to the family that I did, like we all do. We're here to learn, and then we take it from there and try to be the best people, the best we can be, playing our part, that we're in the role that we're in here, that we've talked about a bit before.
Yeah.
And now we have this opportunity because we are here now. This is the year of planting the seeds. Next year is harvest. I mean, we are at this moment, as we know, to get out of the fear, to open our minds up and go, okay, time's a wasting. Let's get on and understand how I can be even more effective, and how I can attract, be around the right people to do, I mean, not the right people, but to feed our souls and our spirits, to get closer to the divinity, the soul that we were when we were born, that pureness, and get, delete and remove and reject some of the old beliefs that don't serve us. We've got to let go of a lot of those negative beliefs that we grew up with, because we're older. And a lot of people didn't really want, we were just told what to do. A lot of us were growing up. And now we can find out things instantly. And that's not just all on the iPhone. We can go inside. There's so many beautiful tools today, as we know. And that's why I love your breakdown in your book, where you go, before you were born, oops, now what? The art of living, waking up, the dreaming room, you'll see them again. Meet your real sixth sense, the science of compassion, which is, we're really moving into that right now, aren't we? Self-love and unity consciousness and love. And then the reality architecture and journey to the other side, and then living the spiritual life. So what are a few things that you'd like to share with everyone about some of the bumps you've had in the road, that or what have how you've been able to become such a beautiful human and such a balanced giver in life? Because it's not been easy for really any of us. We all share a lot of the same difficulties, right? Whether it's whatever it is.
Yeah, it's a tough assignment coming into the material world. There's a big thing around all of us that is fear. That is a really big one that is all around us, because we're side by side with all these other souls that have very primitive belief systems still. And while we might be advancing, you have ideologies around the planet that have the big decisions, like nuclear warfare or whatever, coupled with a very extraordinarily primitive belief system, or that, as we've seen in previous wars, that these beings should not be allowed anymore, because our beliefs and our understanding and faith is superior. And then we decide, well, we're going to do a cleansing process. So the body of man is sort of like the body within our own body. There tends to be viruses in it, and those viruses tend to attack the rest of the other cells. Think of the cells like the people that are on the planet, and the planet is the platform, and then the cells are the people operating on top of that platform, and they're altering this platform. And the choice is wake up each day and say, well, what am I doing that's serving or taking away from myself? What am I doing that's serving others or taking away from the others? Or what am I doing to serve the future and bring it into safe passage versus not or endangering it? And so the world right now, as it is, post-COVID and still somewhat COVID, is a very different world than it even was only 3 years ago, because of the potential of the control factors that are control how we operate. So now we're seeing that we can have a lockdown, and many people, the entire world was told just to go home and sit in your apartment or your home and just wait it out. And that was really a lot more crucial in places like China and others. So everyone is feeling much more sensitive before, because now it's the feeling of biological type of thing. But I was at a lecture recently where you're not even allowed to take in your cell phone. You have to turn it off and leave it in the car. I attend this meeting generally twice a month. And basically what they were showing was the last meeting I went to said that there was 5 stages of war. Now we've had all these 4 stages in this aspect already happened. The last one being the 4th stage, which was the Great World War II, and sort of bombing military and industrial targets, the air campaign, the invention of the atomic bomb. Now the next phase is where we as sort of light bearers have to really rise up and inform others, because the 5th stage is kind of a stage that we've never, or we don't even, first of all, the main stage of the 5th stage of this conflict that is happening around the world right now is very, very volatile and dangerous, because we don't know we're in a war. That's the first thing. We don't even know we're in it. There's a biological aspect and change that is trying to come into our bodies. The entire globe is being surrounded in kind of a yoke right now via thousands of satellites that are being put up to watch everything in real time. And the reason that they want to do that is because of future pandemics, because of the volatility of conflict leading to social unrest. But also the one really, the one that I just spoke with Dr. J.J. Hurtak and his wife about was the interesting one, is about disclosure itself. How are we going to come into disclosure and realize that we have one big other issue that's happening right now as we all are here busy being busy bees, and that is the upper layers in the troposphere and the ionosphere. The troposphere is that lower atmosphere is having more and more activity being dropped into it. There seem to be a lot more of these spheres that are dropping in. They seem to be non-aggressive targets, and they seem to hover around doing whatever they're doing, recording something of our experience perhaps, and then zipping out into space at incredible speeds. And so that increase is happening. It was what I was talking about in my lecture series when I was going on the short little lecture tour that I did here. I was doing this thing called The Visitors. And this is what we were talking about is, finally, after all these other conflicts, you finally you can name so many. It's daunting. Then you finally come to, what are we going to do about the extraterrestrials? What about that? And so the Defense Department wants to find an easy way to sort of ease you into the idea. And that's going to be coupled into, the upcoming election. It's being discussed now as how it will be sort of brought out, because people are recording this disclosure aspect of our experience in real time via the cell phone every day.
Oh, it's filmed all the time everywhere we go, whether we have no
little blips,
time
little lights.
right.
Nothing really pronounced, nothing, threatening right in your face, nothing like an attempted landing, but more of a glimpse that something is there. So what they are about, I think, is that they understand exactly what's going on here to a great degree. You and I and people like us are well beyond that stage of curiosity of wondering, like, are there really UFOs? We're way beyond that. We're at that stage where we're trying to understand the nature of their desire. And is this in fact men and women that are coming here to assist us? Are we on the precipice of a global conflict that is huge? Is this what the Bible talks about, the last days before there is even a return of the spiritual hierarchy, heralded by this Christos, the Christ aspect? Is this coming to the planet right now? Do people in the science circles and defense and Pentagon want to try to see all this in real time so they can see conflict or whatever and movement down below, but they also want to see as above? So this is like a time that's like nothing else we've ever experienced before. This is really entering into the big show, as they say, the grand poobah, the big one, of are we going to go forward
And
or
yes, we are.
end it, and we are.
We are going to go forward. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I've heard this too. I've heard them speak. I've heard several different people speak at, UFO Con and New Life Expo that we were both at.
Mhm.
And I'm on several things that yeah, yes, we are watched. We are being surveillanced more than we ever have. And yes, the beings are here to help us, like most humans, most humanity, except for a small percentage, are not good, just like ETs are here to help us. I mean, and we will make this through it. And yes, there's a huge conflict. There's a lot of tipping, we're at a tipping point right now. But the fear that people are still filled with fear and thinking, oh, well, they're going to get us, or, I think we just have to keep positive and keep realistic, that with our energies not getting down and fear-based, that, yes, we're being watched. We have to be careful and more diligent. I feel like I'm watched all the time. You probably feel like you are too. Most of the people that I'm around feel like they're being watched every second. We know that. I have been my whole life, and you probably have been too. So that's nothing new. And my dad, who I talk to all the time, who passed about 8 years ago, as I've talked about him, he just said, fear has been around forever, Mary. He said, that we all know that that's nothing new. So I just find it frustrating that other people are still so stuck in this next layer of what it's going to be like. We already know disclosure. There have already been millions of showings. Yes, there more ETs are coming to the planet. I've been off planet a lot doing housing. I'm starting to help them come here. We all are. And I was on the moon last Friday for a few hours. It was crazy. Yeah. But as I've told you, I've been off. They've been training me since I was 3 or 4 and 10 years old. I've been on all the planets of the solar system, helping create with other ETs, positive ETs, good ETs, good sentient beings, Pleiadians, Arcturians, Andromedans. They take me, and I'm just starting to talk about it, as I've said, but they like me because I can communicate well with the ETs and with the humans in small groups, and we are creating different habitats for more travel off planet. And again, they're coming here. I teach on craft, and they say, what's it like to live in different places on Earth? What do you recommend? I said, well, what kind, do you want to live in the middle of Alaska that's all green, or in Peru or Chile? Like do we want to go to Mars or the moon? And they're asking us, where should we come, and where would we be safe? I mean, it's the same thing back and forth.
So they're not so different after all.
They're not so, no, everybody wants safety. There's
That
only
veil between your understanding of them, that, of course, as from a subjective standpoint, that would throw
yes.
a lot of people.
It does. And I've been now talking about that a bit, as I talked about it New Life when I was there with you, and I've drawn pictures of, I've been in the hot sun. Why me? Because I like off planet, that I feel the ET emotions. I incorporate caring, loving, colors, feeling. We develop projection systems of art on the walls, to 11,000 square foot interiors with Pleiadians. The Pleiadians have been taking me and grooming me and teaching me since I was born, and 94 generations. I've been studying it with my father and all different people, and myself and my beings quietly. I've been a hermit my whole life and never really wanted to come out because I didn't want to be attacked by all this. I have thousands of hybrid children. My father had a lot of hybrid children. He's been going off planet his whole life. So did my grandfather, all the way back. And I have a thread of healing and design that goes back through all the generations. Dad did rockets. I do interiors. I create color and life and vitality, and create vibrant interiors, like I did in wellness interiors for 50 years here. And now I'm doing it more off planet, as I have been forever. Here's another trip to the sun. And a lot of these spaces are Pleiadian villages. They have different locations inside the sun, inside Venus and Pluto, and all the different subsurface habitats that they're carving out now, because they're people, obviously humans are going off planet more and more and more, and a lot of the planets are obviously closer by than going all the way to the Pleiades. So and the ETs have really advanced, obviously heating systems. They have ways to transport me and other people, so we're not, riddled with radiation or dead in all different capacities. And then, on Pluto, they're asking, how do we humans live in this beautiful blue dot? How do we live so? I mean, we're in conflict more than any other really civilization, almost, with our warfare, but we have the most beauty. We have the most beauty in flora and fauna. So that's why they come to me and say, how do we add this? How do we add art? How do we work together? Because the positive ETs, the sentient beings, want to know how we can create habitats that work well for both humans and ETs, depending upon their culture, our culture, all about culture and all about vibration. Here's a Palladian sketch that's 2 million square feet that I worked on for the last few years. I have glimpses of this. I know I've been there. I've gone off on, taught and done interiors on craft on and off forever, adding art and enhancing aesthetic.
So succinct. That's
No,
amazing that you have that. Are we living simultaneously other lives?
Yes, we are. We are.
Is that why this is? In other words, you're here. Is there another, like, just like there'd be another you in another reality?
I have 10 clones. I've been told for about 5 years, 6 years of when I've been doing all this research. I've talked to 8 or 10 of the top people. I've had regressions with 7 or 8 or 9 of the top people, because I keep going, why me? I felt crazy my whole life. I see these things. I have glimpses of it. I am like completely cuckoo clock. And now I've met nobody. There are only really 2 other people that are doing these interiors of habitats. And it's my art and my interior design background and my architecture and my family DNA they've been watching forever. And I talked about it, the story of my awakening with my dad, connecting inner and outer space. And I present another facet of experience of human interaction with ETs.
Your father was a naval officer.
He was in World War II. He was a lieutenant in the Navy. He was a pilot in World War II. And before he went there, he went to, Choate and Princeton, met Einstein, met Oppenheimer, did his first secret space programs with Oppenheimer in World War II, came back, got his engineering degree at Northwestern. And there's me down there in the bottom. And so it's a generational odyssey. And I didn't know till, as I've said the last year, that he had hybrid children, that why he took me on a planet holding my hand at age 5. His father did that with him. His grandfather did that with them. So I'm trying to explain the roles of art and design and environment create an abundant path to the future. And I did this drawing 5 years ago. I've done this art for my whole life, going, why do I see all these planets everywhere? Why is it all space? Why do I do all these these drawings that I've been doing for my whole life, trying to make sense out of my own art, because I've been an artist forever. And you saw that. And I've done art, I've taught art, and done interiors from Africa all over the world forever. And my dad's been telling me he wanted to show me the world so I could understand. And so when I go up and I talk the hybrids or adults up on these craft that are floating around, on my hybrid children, they say, what's it like? Some of my hybrid kids live on a 260-year-old spacecraft that's been going around and around for 260 years. I have hybrid children on Asperian, that are Asperian, that are way out they're called the blue people. They're 8 feet tall. They have 3 fingers and 4 toes. And the Palladians, are mostly the Palladians, have been giving my 1,000 eggs that they took at age 5 and 6 on craft they give it away freely. That's why I have so many children, because they like the DNA. But, and that's why I do art of nature and
wouldn't want any bad DNA
and spacecraft, because I've been off planet I'm off planet 60 or 70% of the time now in the last many years.
Wow.
But it's a story of the love of space and how art connects us all. Art is a mini portal that triggers emotional connection to the inner and outer self. And art is the inner expression of the beauty of the soul, and along with design and architecture, link us to each other, our homes, our lives, our community, with powerful and beautiful stories of love, loss, family, ancestry, history, and culture. And that's what I've been diving into more and more over, how is energy, what do we seek? How do we connect all, like what Ray Hernandez talks about is, yes, all the different energies that we all have are all about raising the consciousness. And we go back to looking at the art and the design on cave walls, like here. They've been telling stories to us, and I've been fascinated. They've been teaching me and guiding me and supporting me in my, to do this work forever. And that's what I do probably once a week, or sometimes two times a week. And it sounds completely crazy, but I validate it with my father. The Pleiadians tell me that. They come here, they know that I have really no fear, because I've been trained well, and it's been 94 generations back to really Jesus of my family, like your family, like all of us have all different DNA. But that's what the part I'm playing here is to not only, and the Pleiadians have been saying that in my ear for 15 or 20 years, Mary, you're not only going off planet, but when they keep coming here more and more, we hope you will provide for them the gifts that and the few talents that I have, some art and some design stuff that I care about. And they want to know where to come on Earth, and where is it safe? Where is it beautiful? Where can we go and live in harmony and peace and safety, just like what we're trying to do? Or do we go to Mars first, or do we go here? We go to the moon. So
beware.
The sky is the limit. The sky is not the limit. Our imagination, creativity, and fear is always the limiting force to me. And you talk about it in your book in beautiful ways, all the different fears that we have. But I think the more people talk about what the limiting factors are, and are we going to have a solar flare that's going to wipe us out this summer or this next year? I'm so sick of hearing about that. And to get rid of the word disclosure. We are the disclosure. The individuals are the disclosure. I mean, being down at Tesla last week was wow, watching these people, like everybody. Wow. There's so much going on that we don't know about. And a lot of people won't talk about. A lot of people I know when I worked at NASA and I've kept up with, they were all going off planet. They were all doing different things like I was, but we never really could go there. We had to keep our traps shut too. And I have for 72 years till recently. But I think, it's good that we're coming back to our soul, to God, to peace. You and I saw it in the 60s. It's been going on for forever. This wanting to find peace, safety, and hope. It's all, and love, and resilience. And that's what we really need to have. And more people are going to be flipping off the planet because they can't cope with the energy shifts that we're all going through right now. It's hard to cope right now. So what do you think? I mean, you've been off planet. Will you go more? Will you?
I don't have recall in that succinct and deep way. There's a whole series of happenings since I was young, but I don't have that ability to see that I might be simultaneous living in another aspect. That quantum idea is very evident. I meet some of the really good people like yourself that are very versed in that, but I got the idea that we were a part of a vast network early on when I was a child, seeing apparitions, disincarnates, people that you could see through. They wrote on my report card, and Robert says he sees people that are standing behind the teacher, and this disturbs the teacher and the class. And I did see that. I remember very succinctly seeing people walk right. I saw their footsteps in their places. I've seen small angelics that were there. So then, as these apparitions began, they didn't have necessarily a real succinct relationship with me that I knew about. I'm sure they knew and understood it, because when we leave our physical body, we join this vast network that's sort of walking by us momentarily. even though we might deny it while we're physical. But I saw that, witnessed it over and over and over. And then finally in 1977, yeah, then, I had a full blown, extraterrestrial encounter.
Can you share that? Can you
Well,
talk about?
yeah. In
Wow.
1977, I was just learning thoughts were things, maybe that our thoughts aren't isolated and that they had the ability to travel. And that if you sent a thought form into the universe, that there was something or someone that could hear that and might even respond to it. And it was very taught by the yogis and the mystics, that if you focused your intention, that something might respond. So I tried this little experiment on a skiing trip by myself when I was with my parents and my sister and her husband. And just tried it at night by lighting a candle, setting an intention. And after I was done, I went in to go to bed eventually and never really gave it a thought, thinking, well, someday, something might happen. Someday. Right, never thinking that it would be actually that night, and that night, in the middle of the night, the whole room seemed to be illuminated by, looked like the sun had touched down inside our own living room. I was sleeping downstairs and woke up to what looked like an opening of some kind, where all these light formations of green, blue, violet, silver, glistening speckles flowing through me and around me. And then suddenly I was encased in something, like I couldn't move. I was encased in like a sphere of some kind, a blue bubble. And I could hear my voice, but I couldn't move anything in my body. And you could hear my voice trying to scream, but it didn't seem terribly unpleasant. It just felt like there was a separation between material and non-material with myself. And suddenly, what looked like 3 astronauts were in front of me. They glowed like the sun. They had visors. I saw no faces. They had an orange antenna. The suits themselves seemed to be alive. And now I know that I've told this story so many times over the years and sold the books years ago, and it's something that I live with, something you understand, but the general public goes, now what, Robert, you seem so completely, utterly normal. You seemed like such a nice guy. Why? My sister would go, come on, Robert, what's it all about? First it has to be, trying to, levitate and raise the dead with, mom in the living room and all that with those ladies and everything. And now finally it's extraterrestrials. Can't you just be normal? You're scaring the family, but it's something I had to live with. So when I went through this experience, I'll shorten it for our time because our time is coming up fairly soon. Came back through this tunnel with whatever these beings are, and was lowered down onto the bed. And then whatever this arcing storm was and these astronauts dissipated, and it seemed like the side of the house closed up, and then suddenly everything was normal. And I lied there in a convulsion, kind of I would have no idea what just happened. And eventually I crawled out of the bed and just literally crawled across the floor into a little vanity bathroom, turned on the light, and I realized I was soaked in some kind of oil or honey-like material, and I was sunburned from head to toe, and I had no idea what this was. And to speed things up again, eventually when I came home, I locked myself in my apartment for about almost 10 days, and I told no one of what I saw because I didn't think, I couldn't come to terms with it. The mind doesn't have room for that. And then I was starting to think, okay, well, the mind, it's a manifestation. It comes from within. It's kind of like an extended dream. That must be, but that wouldn't explain the physical portion, right? I went to a metaphysical bookstore in Los Gatos, California. And it's at Old Town, Los Gatos, beautiful little village, right there. I was like, maybe, is it possible this could have, it seemed like something almost otherworldly or almost extraterrestrials. That possibly looking through, there's magazines and books. I don't have the one here, but there was Alien Meetings by Brad Steiger, who had a chapter in there called Angels in Spacesuits. And this chapter seemed to say exactly what I saw. How is this possible? The UFO magazine, they have a magazine on this subject. I was curious. I must look. I was thumbing through the magazine. There were two things that really stood out. The first UFO conference of its kind will be in San Francisco, California, at the San Francisco Airport Hilton, which is now a parking lot. So much time has gone by. And it will be led by Dr. J. Allen Hynek. Who is this man? I must see. And he had a book there called, I think it was called Alien Encounters or something.
Yeah, that was the name of it.
Buy a little paperback. This seems like the go-to guy. So I start thumbing through and think, oh my God, this is evidently he's recording people's testimonies. This is the go-to guy, and he's going to be there. I have to go there. As I'm thumbing through the magazine, this is the part where your life stops. You'll never be the same. You have a story. You're probably going to have the story all the way in the year 2023, which I thought that the world would need. It would either be filled with world peace and flying cars, or we wouldn't be here at all. There was a picture of what I saw. Is this possible? There's a photograph of what I saw. Is this possible? It's only 10%, 15% of what I saw, because the light illumination, the brilliance, the sun-like brilliance of this experience, and the orange antenna and this big bulky astronaut is there. I can see it, but all that is missing. But that unmistakably is what I saw. And that is what I saw.
Wow.
That picture was taken, my encounter was December 27th, 1977. The photograph was taken in October of 1973 by Jeff Grinshaw from Falkville, Alabama, an off-duty policeman who photographed this and another one where they look apparition-like. And that, honest to God, Mary, is what I saw. How this is possible, I don't know. I can't be attached to whether people believe it or not.
Well, I believe you because you saw it, and and you have proof. That's a miracle that you have. Somebody has a picture of it, but that's why it's hard to believe all these stories. I mean, we think it's hard, but I don't think it's hard at all, because you can't make this up. I mean, why would anybody make up a story about that?
Oh, they will. I'm sure they look at me and say, oh, well, Robert, people will do that. Is it validation? Is it significant? Is it approval?
No, I know.
Used when you were young. What is this? I've sat on the couch. I've done more time on the couch with some pilots that fly from here to Europe.
Right.
And
I believe you, and that's no, and plus it does change your life. I mean, that's the thing. And what I'd love to do too is continue this on in another interview if we could, because we just got into hearing your beautiful stories, and I want to hear more of those. No, that's just unbelievable. And you probably know Paul Hynek, right? You're probably friends.
Yeah, I know him. I've been on some panels with him.
Yeah, he's amazing. I love. We were born in the same hospital.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we grew up down the street from me, and he.
Where?
I grew up in Kenilworth, Illinois, and he grew up in Evansville, Illinois, which is a mile away, right on Lake Michigan.
Oh, that's right.
So we grew up near there, and we were blown away when we'd been. So we've had lots of talks about that. But to have that experience and get that validation in his father's book is just outrageous. I mean, how beautiful was that?
Oh, I kid him about it.
I'm
like one of the oldest guys. Now I'm part of the old guard, but I'd say the old guard, because in my day, there was only Stanton Friedman, there was the Hertax, who aren't sure that they were at that meeting that I was at in San Francisco, but Desiree says yes, JJ couldn't really remember. But all those guys that came through that were into disclosure or UFO style business started coming through, and I'm that young man at the very first meeting that was there at the Hilton. There was William Shatner was there.
Oh my God, you're kidding. Oh, that's
And
insane. I love
it
him.
makes it even stranger. As I'm
Whoa. And
telling
he's
my
95,
story,
whatever he is now. Yeah.
I was telling my story to J. Allen Hynek with the little recorder. Remember the
Yeah.
cassette recorder?
I
With
had
that
that.
little plastic window, press play and record.
You still have that recording?
He has it somewhere, maybe. And he's passed on. I was so
Oh,
anxious
well,
to get
Paul
this
has
story
it.
out, and here he
You
was.
should ask Paul to get
recording.
that. But that must
I wish, and he was there recording. I thought he's actually recording me. And then it was William Shatner listening in, interrupting.
Wow.
How can you make this?
You can't. Well, you couldn't, but that's just so cool. But we have to end on this note. I hate to say this.
We'll be back for part 3.
Oh my God, part 3! Yay! Thank you so much. Oh my God, I can't wait. Well, I'll text you later so we can figure it out immediately, because you are just unbelievable. That's like one of the coolest stories I've ever heard. Wow. So we're gonna sign off now. I love you, Robert. My dad's name was Robert, so yeah, but Robert in my life, which I love. Thank you so much. To be continued.
Thank you. Cheers.